What up, YouTube? I am Dom Knight. This is Knight Talks, and we are back with another Reaction Wednesday for you. Before we get into it, like the video, subscribe for more content. We almost set that goal, trying to hit 125 subs by September. A goal with some size with my eyes are on the prize. Thank you very much. Today, we're reacting to and it's complicated video, okay? It's complicated as a channel. It's been around for a little bit, but he goes around and interviews people and talks to them about things I talk about, you know, relationship stuff, human nature stuff, things like that. He's on the same mission, trying to, you know, stop the divide between men and women so we have a better understanding of each other. This video here is about consent. And so we're gonna see what some of these young ladies are talking about in regards to consent. So let's just jump right into it.
When having a first kiss, what is more special to you? If it happens spontaneously in the heat of the moment, or if the guy asks permission first?
Spontaneous.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, spontaneous.
Okay. What does that say about consent?
If you're
Yo,
fine
homegirl
enough-
drinking a Four Loko.
No, they're gonna cancel me.
You have to catch.
I didn't
you have
mean
to catch
that.
the vibe. There's a vibe.
Okay, let me ask you
Yeah.
this. What determines what should and should not be spontaneous during sex?
If you're ugly, don't even try anything spontaneous.
If you've talked about it at least like before.
They should be able to read the situation, I think, and spontaneous would be the right way to go. I
Yeah,
think.
if you ask, it kind of ruins the moment.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
It
you
makes it a little
asked.
awkward, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm a big person. I just
Oh,
feel the
those
vibe. If
some
you don't
interesting
feel the vibe,
glasses.
and if you don't understand social cues, then maybe you should just wait and ask for consent.
Okay. Does no always mean no?
Yes, no always means no.
Okay. If consent is such an important thing, why don't they typically ask for it in Hollywood movies?
Because it's stigmatized to not be not be sexy, to not be the move, to just take action beforehand. So that's what the publicity goes with.
Hollywood movies are mostly taken from the male perspective, so they don't really get that the women maybe want to be asked.
Okay, but I'm saying, like, if you look at the movie Sleeping Beauty, right? That's a man who kisses a woman who's unconscious. He doesn't ask for her consent, right?
But that was the only way for Sleeping Beauty to be awake.
Okay, all right. What determines what should and should not be spontaneous during sex?
Consent. Literally, like, just asking for consent all the time.
Okay,
I
so
think-
so every time a guy, like, puts his hand somewhere, he needs to ask permission for it?
I think that.
Or just ask if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's all
Are you
about.
comfortable with me, you know, putting my hands on your waist or something like
And
that?
checking in. I think that checking in, you don't necessarily have to ask every single time, but just checking in and making sure that the person is comfortable with what's going on is like a really big deal.
Establish ground rules. There's nothing wrong. Communication is key.
Right. Okay, if a guy's gonna perform anal sex, does he need to have a pre-production meeting about it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on. If you and your girl don't do anal on the regular, you should probably say something before you just ram it in there, bro. Yeah, that I think that is something that y'all should probably talk about first, especially if it's something y'all don't do a lot though. But let's continue.
And
That is not something you just.
Sorry, babe, I'm home.
Putting in the butthole.
okay.
That should not be spontaneous. That should be consensual. Cause like some girls don't like it in like, you know, their anus. So like, you should not just be like, okay, let me put it in your butt. No, you gotta ask, like, are you okay with anal sex? If you're not okay with it, then you can't do it.
Is consent something that can be withdrawn once it's given?
Yes, I think so.
I don't know.
I
Maybe
think-
not.
But I feel like if someone comes in and is like, yeah, let's do this, but then halfway, like, they're getting into it and they haven't done it yet, and they're like, oh wait, I'm not sure about this. I think you can at any point stop. Like, you shouldn't. Once you start, you shouldn't be forced to like.
Keep going. But it's
Well,
also
once you
like,
pop, the fun don't stop.
as like someone else, like if you gave consent first, it's like you should have known, like you should have really thought about it, or else like why'd you give consent?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like, oh, why did you stop? I guess kind of thing.
Just to play devil's advocate,
I
you
agree
know,
with that.
if it's something that can be withdrawn, what would be the point of asking permission in the first place?
I think,
It's-
yeah, that's valid.
Yeah,
I think
there's
it
no
needs.
point.
It shouldn't just be a lightweight question at the end of the day.
When you're with a guy, like, you might think of him in way, like maybe at the beginning of the night, and you can be more comfortable with him, and then as the night progresses, maybe there's red flags that come up, and maybe you change your mind, and that's completely fine, but that would mean that consent would be withdrawn. And if you're going to say, like, I'm not comfortable anymore, then consent's not given anymore.
But I actually do agree with you. I think that it is something that should be able to be withdrawn. But here's my question. Is there a difference between withdrawing consent during and after the act?
Yes. I think if you're doing it after the act, like after it's all done, you're
Hell
like,
yeah.
oh, I didn't give consent, but you actually did. I think that's where the issues occur. Like, I think if you're in the middle of it, you can withdraw. But after you finish the act, I feel like you can't say, like...
Yeah, that's more regret. That's
Yeah,
not even like,
yeah.
oh, I didn't give consent. That's regret, like,
Yeah.
oh, crap, I did it and didn't want to
Exactly.
type thing.
A lot
I
of
like
us
them girls. They
girls
smart.
are nervous to withdraw consent, so we kind of just let things happen. I don't think that it's okay either way. I mean, I think that, like, you know, if they're withdrawing consent, like, whatever the guy is doing is not okay either way, if the woman is uncomfortable, whether or not she said anything.
If a guy gives you an engagement ring and he calls off the engagement,
glasses.
should you give the ring back?
No, hell no.
Yes.
It's my ring.
Yes,
Okay,
give it
so
back.
why is it if a man withdraws consent to an engagement, he loses the ring?
I mean, I don't think women
Got
are
him.
objects like rings are.
I wouldn't say he loses the ring, but you lost.
Hold up. I want to comment on that. It's not that women are objects like rings are, but guess what? When you get engaged, you give that ring as pretty much as it's a deal. I'm giving you this ring in exchange for getting married. If you don't get married, then you're kind of withdrawing from that deal. So the contract's void. You got to give it back. All right. You know, if you sign a contract with somebody and you take, say you're an athlete, right? You sign a contract for X amount of years and you withdraw from that contract or you don't want to play or whatever. That team can likely sue you for some of that money back if they already paid you. You know, that's how contracts work. And not that an engagement is necessarily a written, documented contract like that. It's still, that ring was given with the mutual idea that we are going to be married. So give the ring back. You know, why are you keeping it anyway? Let's continue.
The value of that woman.
Okay. If marriage is supposed to be an equal partnership, why does a woman get an expensive engagement ring but a man doesn't?
I mean, I'm sure they could, but I don't think most of them want it. I mean, they get a ring. It's just not really as
What if a guy
expensive.
wanted like a $20,000 motorcycle?
I mean, I guess it's all between you and your partner. I spoil my men.
If a man consents to sex, does that mean he's consenting to potentially becoming a father?
Well, if he was smart,
That's
he
a
would
good
use all
question.
the protection and not... he would do everything in his power to not be the father.
Right.
I think if it happens, it's a consequence of him making the decision of having sex.
Okay. If a woman consents to sex, does that mean she's consenting to potentially becoming a mother?
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think,
Like,
yeah.
If you're doing it, there's a risk of it.
Yeah.
If you take every precaution, you can. Whatever happens, happens.
So why is the man often blamed for getting a woman pregnant, aka knocking her up, when it actually takes two people?
That's
Great
tough.
question.
I think it's just another stereotype.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah, like.
Don't women ultimately get to decide who has sex and who gets born?
Yes.
True.
Essentially, yeah, I could agree with that.
Are there any decisions more important than those two? Don't those choices determine the future of civilization?
Kind of, yeah.
And doesn't great power
They
come
do.
with great responsibility?
Yes.
So wouldn't you say that there's a lot of responsibility on the woman when it comes to those issues?
Yes,
I would
think,
say so,
I
yeah.
think responsibility goes both ways.
Okay, that's fair.
Although I just want to comment on that, man. He threw up a lot of good points there. Responsibility does come with great power. Does come with responsibility. So, women, that's your choice. Hey, if you don't want a kid to be born, that kid will not be born. If you don't want to have sex, sex will not happen. I mean, consensual sex. We're not going to talk about nothing else. But that is true. Women, you got big responsibilities there. So when you choose to lay down with guys, pick the right guys, especially if there's a chance of you getting pregnant. Let's continue.
If two drunk people meet and have drunk sex, how do you know who took advantage of who if neither one could offer responsible consent?
it's not consenting on either.
It cancels out.
Yeah. Neither party was able to soberly consent. So therefore,
What happens?
whatever happens, and that's
Unfortunately, aren't most sexual encounters happening under drunken conditions?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a problem, right?
If you put yourself in a situation where you choose to drink, where you get so drunk, where you hook up with someone and you don't remember anything and then try to accuse it as being rape, that is not right.
That's why you should always have friends around you.
Exactly. You should
People
never
you
do
trust
it
around you.
and always have a DD. Always.
And I agree with that. Some people, accept that responsibility, and some people call that victim blaming. So it just depends on,
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Victim blaming is definitely, yeah.
You can't really point fingers in that situation.
Okay, but who's typically blamed in that situation?
The man. Yeah.
Okay, is that fair?
No.
Not really. No.
Okay,
not at all.
so why aren't false accusations taken more seriously when there's plenty of scenarios where it's not necessarily just the man's fault?
My man
I
is
think
keeping it
because
all the way
society
buck.
sees men as very masculine over women, so they see always them as taking advantage. But I think that's just another stereotype, another trend that's always seen as like the man being the stronger or dominant.
What are the differences between the stereotypical nice guy and the stereotypical bad boy?
The stereotypical nice guy is like, he always gets ignored and he gets swept under the rug, and he's just like, he's the I asked for a hug type of person. And the bad boy, like, he gets bitches and
he opens the car door, but he expects something though.
Okay. Why do you think we have the expression "nice guys finish last"?
Because a lot of people like overlook their, like, if you have a friend and he's like so sweet to you and you might not think that he is your would like go for him like that, then you might just like look over him, oh, he's just a friend, but really he's the person who would, like, always like treat you the way you wanted to be treated. Even if they're like kind of a pushover a little bit. I think women definitely like dominance.
Okay. Well, what do women find attractive about a bad boy?
The dominance.
Yeah.
That might come with like emotional abuse and like stuff like that, but like a lot of women like to be dominated.
Bad boys are just bad boys. They're hot. I don't know.
We'll cut that there. Yo, I think he asked some really, really good questions, man. He asked some really good questions to shake your mind up, make you think about this stuff in a different way. I think that consent is extremely important in today's era with the M2 movement and, the feminist movement and all that. Guys, you got to be careful out there. You got to be careful. And shoot. I'm gonna link this video down so y'all can finish it, but there's a part where he's talking about like, is consent gonna eventually come down to contracts? Like, is it gonna get there? And there's a part where, they talk about apps and stuff, which that would be crazy. Imagine having an app where like y'all, before y'all bang, like y'all can just like tap all the like different levels of consent. Like, I consent to this, to that, and like you sign off on it. That'd be wild. But I think he asked some really good questions that make you thinking. And guys, we gotta be responsible when it comes to sleeping with people and things like that. You gotta get consent. You gotta be safe. All of that. So I think this was a really good video, really important video. So guys, I am Dom Knight. This is Knight Talks. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. I'm gonna do another reaction to, he's got some other good topics. I'm gonna do another one of these soon, all right? So this ain't the last one you're gonna see, all right? So we're gonna throw the socials right there for you. And we will be back on Wednesday with some advice.
Rack it up, I gotta build up the bank to make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas, some packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Ball it up, I'm with the gang, we taking shots off the rebound. Fucking my post to say now, I've been humble too long, yeah. Tell them all to stay calm, yeah. Tell them all to move on, yeah. Fucking